What's up, guys? It's your boy Benny. We have a new show here, and so it is our obligation to show you all of the evidence, regardless of what conclusion we may come to, even if that conclusion may piss off a lot of people. There is a member of Congress who's one of our favorites, a friend of the show, named Clay Higgins. Clay Higgins has often and regularly gone after the FBI for putting people dressed as Trump supporters inside of the Capitol before January 6th, and now it seems that there is a preponderance of evidence to prove that this actually did indeed happen. Clay Higgins was on Newsmax last night where he dropped an absolute thermonuclear bombshell saying that hundreds of FBI informants were inside of the United States Capitol before the doors were open. We're going to go through this entire allegation and show you all the evidence for it. Clay Higgins, let's go.
Yeah, I was not only involved in the actions on January 6th from within. They had, I suspect, over 200 agents embedded within the crowd, including agents, or as they would call human assets, inside the Capitol, dressed as Trump supporters before the doors were opened. Beyond that, the FBI had embedded themselves and infiltrated online chat groups and websites and social media accounts across the country with any group that was discussing objections to COVID oppression. And the FBI, effectively infiltrated those groups. And when you track the text threads and the communications within those groups and find the origins of suggestions of potential violence or an active occupation of the Capitol on January 6th, you'll find that those messages were led by members of the groups that ended up to be the FBI agents that had infiltrated the groups.
So, wait a second. This is what Clay Higgins is saying. There is a FEDS-surrection. The FBI orchestrated January 6th, is what Clay Higgins, congressman, a man who has the security clearance to go look at all the evidence, is saying. And he's saying so in public, and he's often said so during public hearings, including directly across from Christopher Wray. He asks questions that he already knows the answer to. Clay Higgins, over 200 FBI agents embedded within the crowds on January 6th, FBI agents behind talk of violence in chat groups. Clay Higgins joined Chris Salcedo on Newsmax to discuss the government's operations on January 6, 2021. Rep. Clay Higgins told the Salcedo show that at least 200 agents were inside of the crowd. This is exactly what January 6 political prisoner Jeffrey Mellencamp told the Gateway pundit from his prison cell back in 2023. Jeffrey is a decorated former 3rd Special Forces Group soldier and the U.S. government contractor. Jeffrey is being held as a political prisoner after serving his country for 22 years. After his arrest, Jeffrey delved into video footage and documented evidence from the January 6 protest. He was able to identify numerous government informants and agitators in the massive Trump rally that day. After putting together his evidence, he sent it to numerous contacts. That is when the FBI came into his prison cell and took his research. What? They attempted to silence him and banned him from the phone and mail privileges. Whoa. I mean, listen, that's crazy. This from the Gateway pundit. What's not crazy is the footage that we literally have, from court documents and filings of a few things, okay? Here's number one. Literal footage of undercover informants and officers, federal officers, encouraging and instigating illegal activity on January 6th. This is an undercover body camera footage on January 6th.
Drain the swamp.
And you can see here,
Go! Let's go.
A man.
Go!
Here we go.
Help him up! Help him up!
This is the officer.
Hold on, wait! Push him up! Push him up!
This is the officer telling people to climb the scaffolding and to invade the Capitol. This is entrapment. They knew what they were doing. Clay Higgins says this was a planned operation. But it's not just Clay Higgins. The Capitol police officers said it was a planned operation the day of January 6th, whilst it was ongoing. Listen.
They set us the fuck up. That's what they did. They set up 64.
Oh, absolutely.
And then they asked y'all to come 2 hours later. They set us up.
They needed everybody right away.
Nah, right away. They set us the up. So nah, we ain't got
They set us up.
They set us up.
They set us up, was what the Capitol police officer is saying. So what does this mean? Well, this is him saying, effectively, this was a setup. They wanted this to happen. Who wanted it to happen? Well, here's more footage, body camera footage, from a man saying that he is an undercover agent dressed as Antifa in the crowd. Huh? Watch.
Well, we go undercover as Antifa in a crowd. So
We go undercover as
can you
Antifa
put
in the
that
crowd?
back in?
This is from January 6th. This is from the day. You can see the man's badge dangling around his neck.
Yep. It feels better. You guys get sprayed.
He was helping out the officer.
Here. Take this orange bottle.
So he said, we go undercover as Antifa. We're undercover, and you can see his plain clothes, and then you can see his badge dangling out around his neck because he clearly had to identify himself. As happened here, as you can see, a protester gets his handcuffs taken off, and then another man who seems to be dressed like the protesters fist bump him and go back into the Capitol. This man leaves, and you can see the fist bump take place momentarily. What does that mean? Well, it means either this person is a Fed, or it means that they are working in concert with law enforcement. This is insane. This is some of the footage that's coming out of the January 6th footage that's been released by Republicans. Speaking of shocking footage that really set us back, Ray Epps is the only person that we can find. If there's other footage, please alert us of the evidence and the existence of said footage. But the only person that we can find so far that said we will storm the Capitol before 24 hours before it happened, and saying that's the sole purpose is to storm the Capitol, was Ray Epps. And he was caught on camera doing it in newly resurfaced, never before seen footage that was gone through by Laura Logan in meticulous and exceptional detail. Watch.
You're my neighbor. Where you at?
Then he leaned in and whispered something he apparently did not want to say out loud.
We're not here to fight, man. We're here to storm. I'm not kidding.
We're here to storm the Capitol. Hell yeah. All right, have a good night. Be safe. Be safe, brother.
That one moment changed what we knew about Ray Epps that night, when he whispered storm the Capitol before it had happened, and echoed the official narrative before it was broadcast across the nation.
Of supporters of President Trump stormed the U.S. Capitol building.
Thousands storming the Capitol.
This mob that stormed the Capitol.
Stormed the Capitol.
Stormed the Capitol.
Stormed the Capitol.
Stormed the U.S. Capitol building.
Stormed the United States Capitol.
We ran it through forensic software that technical investigators use for analyzing audio and video to make sure we heard correctly and it had not been altered.
I'm not kidding.
We're here to storm the Capitol. Hell yeah. All right, have a good night. Be safe.
And searched through hours of footage, countless news stories, Epps' FBI case documents, and his deposition before the January 6th committee to see if it had been discussed. With the exception of one writer we found on Substack, it hadn't.
So, what about this? What about the lie that there was no Antifa there at the Capitol? Well, John Earl Sullivan is a self-proclaimed BLM activist, anti-establishment journalist who marched with Antifa. He was there that day. He's the person who actually filmed Ashley Babbitt getting murdered in cold blood. Anti-establishment activist, read Antifa, sought to incite Trump supporters on January 6th, DOJ argues. So our own DOJ is coming out saying, wait a second, this guy, here's a photo of him, was there to incite, the goal of inciting the crowd, according to federal prosecutors. He is the man who previously held himself as a supporter of the Black Lives Matter movement, went to the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Not just held himself up as a supporter of the movement. This guy is in front of the White House on camera screaming about how they needed to remove Donald Trump physically from office. So, I mean, at what point do you begin to ask questions about the official narrative? I mean, you just simply need to observe the evidence of your eyes and your ears to begin to say something fishy is going on here. We look forward to having Clay Higgins back on the show and asking him more about this. Meanwhile, it's worth playing for you his entire interview on Newsmax so that you can see the full context and decide for yourself, as always. With that, the great Clay Higgins saying something that we know to be demonstrably true, at the very least, although we don't know the numbers, that there were federal law enforcement agents there on the date of January 6th, and that bad actors were acting to incite Trump supporters that day. It was a trap. It's a trap. Be smart. Listen to Clay Higgins.
Joining me now, Louisiana Congressman Clay Higgins. Congressman, Merry Christmas. Glad to see you. You recently grilled FBI Director Christopher Wray regarding the FBI's role on January 6th. Let's play a clip of that for the folks at home.
A year later, we the people still do not have a definitive answer from you or anyone else in the Biden administration regarding the FBI presence and participation. Can you confirm that the FBI had that sort of engagement with your own agents embedded into the crowd on January 6th?
If you are asking whether the violence at the Capitol on January 6th was part of some operation orchestrated by FBI sources and or agents, the answer is emphatically
You're saying
not. No.
In my opinion, it appears the FBI, Congressman, as it targets one political party, targets whole religions, has turned into a quasi-secret police force targeting Americans rather than defending us. How do you see it?
Yeah, very similar from my perspective, sir. The FBI was not only involved in the actions on January 6th from within. They had, I suspect, over 200 agents embedded within the crowd, including agents, or as they would call human assets, inside the Capitol dressed as Trump supporters before the doors were opened. Beyond that, the FBI had embedded themselves and infiltrated online chat groups and websites and social media accounts across the country with any group that was discussing objections to COVID oppression. And the FBI, effectively infiltrated those groups. And when you track the text threads and the communications within those groups and find the origins of suggestions of potential violence or an active occupation of the Capitol on January 6th, you'll find that those messages were led by members of the groups that ended up to be the FBI agents that had infiltrated the group. So the FBI's involvement was deep, not just on J6, but on the days and weeks and months prior.
And of course, the video that's just recently been released also showing the Capitol Police welcoming in people into the Capitol, not trying to keep them out as we were led to believe initially, undermining this whole insurrection narrative. Congressman, we're also now learning through new court documents, Special Inquisitor Jack Smith demanded a list of Twitter users that liked or retweeted social media posts from President Trump. Congressman, as the Democrats have largely abandoned the Constitution, and with the corruption that we've all witnessed at FBI and DOJ, it doesn't take much imagination to see socialists in the Democrat Party using a list like that for government threats, government intimidation, and government coercion. Can Republicans in good conscience continue to fund a DOJ and its operatives in light of their partisan and what I see as anti-American actions?
Conservative Republicans certainly stand against funding a DOJ and FBI that's clearly weaponized against American people. We're taking a hard look at rebuilding the whole thing. So let me say regarding Jack Smith and his request for another list of American citizens under some alleged legitimate investigative effort, I consider it a badge of honor to be on another one of Jack Smith's list. So I just say that his days are numbered, and American patriots are not going to stand idly by, good sir, and allow our republic to dissolve. We are prepared to fight legally and peacefully and within the parameters of the Constitution, with every ounce of our might and focus. The leftists will not take our country from us. We're standing strong, and I thank you for being a voice of truth and freedom.